Hi, Linda. Let me know when you can hear me. Whew, my glasses are dark. I just walked June out to her parents' car. So they changed when I popped outside. But they'll adjust. Alrighty. Can you hear me okay? And see okay? It looks like we're maybe
Hi.
there we
Um,
go.
yeah, you froze a little bit.
Oh, okay. Just for a minute
Okay.
there. Sometimes it takes it a second just to like get
Yeah.
fully
Oh,
fully locked in, but it looks good on my side and you sound good. All right, so how was your
good.
holiday? How did the solo go at church and um, family time and just all the,
Yeah.
joys of the holiday season. Hopefully you didn't have to slave away in the kitchen too much.
Not too much. No. It went really well this year, the
Mhm.
holidays.
Oh, good. I'm
They
so
were really
glad.
nice. Yeah. And my
That's great.
solo went great. It
Yay! Oh,
went
that's great.
great.
Good.
Yes.
Well, you definitely did the work to
You got lots of
prepare.
compliments from people.
Oh, well, you did the work. So, and also
Yeah.
you did that rehearsal ahead of time, and you said that you and your accompanist were collaborating very well together
Yeah. We
and
had another one
working
beforehand
together.
too. Yeah.
Oh, that's
So,
great. That's
yeah.
fantastic. Oh, I love it.
Great.
So it went beautifully. That little riff went well.
Yep.
I know the bridge was beautiful because it just always, your voice just soared through
Yeah.
that. Um,
Well, I'm sure
so
it wasn't perfect, but I felt really good about it. I mean, and
the thing is,
like
it's never
people were,
exactly
yeah,
what we plan on, right? Like
yeah,
it's live, so it's
right.
never going to be
But it was,
perfect. But that's why we love live music.
yeah,
We
it was.
love that
I
it's
was
human.
pleased.
Hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, and
Oh, well,
people
you were
enjoyed
definitely
it.
very well prepared and you were a blessing. So, obviously, like you said, people said they really enjoyed it. You were a blessing. You brought something really
Yeah,
special to the service.
one guy came up to me and with tears in his eyes and gave me a hug and said, "You
Oh.
blessed me." It was
Oh,
just
I
really
love
nice.
it. Oh, all that good work paid
Yeah,
off. That's great. So, we are
yeah,
coming into a
yeah,
new year here. So, and you just finished your big solo.
yeah.
So, as we are, coming into this new season, do you have any thoughts on where you want to go from here? We could prepare something maybe for like the Easter season. They might need music for that,
Hmm.
time. So I think, preparing something for the Easter season could be a big music time for Mass, and you could maybe see if there's anything in particular they need. But that could be kind of a fun
Yeah.
thing to work towards. Or if you have other thoughts, like I have students do things like, oh, I'm going to do a song for, a loved one's birthday or something, or a retirement party. Or it could
Uh-huh.
be, that they have an opportunity to be part of an open mic night in their community, things like that. So if there's something that
Mhm.
you want to be working towards, I'd love to hear your thoughts on, moving forward, because in the past we did a lot more of classical and musical theater technique, and then this was a lot more of that contemporary Christian music style, and
Yeah.
so that was pretty different for you. So are you liking
Yeah.
that style? Are you wanting to stay with that right now, or are you wanting to try something totally different? What are you thinking?
Well, I would like to find an Easter song to sing, and
Okay.
I just want to find the right song. I don't care really the style. I
Okay.
mean, I just want to find the right
Yeah.
song for that I
Sure.
feel passionate about, and also that right for my voice.
Hmm.
And so that's one thing. And then the second thing, we've got a little time before Easter. Easter's late this year. It's like third
Yeah.
week in April or something. Um, but the other thing I was thinking is I would love, if possible,
Hmm.
to learn some music theory that
Oh,
would be
yes.
helpful for singing.
For
Um,
sure.
because I have very rudimentary knowledge, and I would
Absolutely.
love to be able to read the music that I'm singing. And
Hmm.
yeah,
Right, and that you can communicate a little bit better with your pianist, things like that. You know, if you're
Yeah,
in a choir group that the director says things and you go, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, one of my
right.
students, she started singing with a Gregorian chant group for a very traditional Latin mass. And
Mm.
she was like, I don't understand any of the words they use. So I was like, ooh, I got to brush up on my, like, because that's not our standard theory from today either. I was like, oh, I got to go brush up on that because I was like, ooh, it's been a long time since I've done any of that.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's tough when you're trying to communicate and understand, and you go, I don't really know these words. I don't really know how to articulate it. And even looking at the music, going, all right, like what note am I on? What key am I in? People ask singers all the time, okay, what's your key? And if you
Right. Yeah,
go,
exactly.
right?
Here's the music. What is it? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you're like, I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
Right.
So I think that's a great idea to at least know the basics of like, this is my key, this is my time signature, and what does time signature mean? You know, those kind of things. And
Yes.
it just tells them like basically what the range is
Yeah.
for the song, like where you start and finish in that range. And it tells them what sort of rhythmic feel it's going to have. Is it like a slow ballad in 4/4 time? Is it more of a waltz tempo, like a brisk waltz? That's going to tell them how they need to kind of have the emphasis and the drive of the song. So those kind of things are really helpful. And then if you understand those things too, then you can kind of look at the piece and already know before even really starting it a little bit of what it's going to feel like. So I definitely think that'll be helpful. You can look at it and see the melody line and go, okay, so the melody line is going to be, you know, sweeping up here, or oh, it goes lower in this part and then it goes higher, and it has like a big leap there, but then in another spot it stays more level and flat. Like you can just watch the melody line and kind of the shape of, does it go up, does it go down, what does it look like it's doing, but also understanding a little bit of like how long do I hold the note? Is there a rest there, a moment to breathe? Those kind of things can be really helpful too. Um, so let's go ahead and dive a little bit into. I think it would be great to add in a little bit of theory every time we meet. So we'll
Yeah.
say like let's do a little bit each time. And I also find that doing ear training with the theory for singers is very, very helpful because we have to connect what we hear with what we feel with what we see on the page. So being able to associate like this is what that sounds like a major key or a minor key or different mode, or this is what that rhythm kind of sounds like and feels like. So I think associating ear training with it will be really helpful as well. So for Easter, you said you're pretty open to style. It's just kind of off the top of my head, some good ones for Easter might be In Christ Alone, which is more of like a modern contemporary hymn. It's often done with like penny whistle. It's really, really pretty. Have you heard that one?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Living Hope is more of a contemporary one that I think is a good one. Um, Maybe Because He Lives, I feel like is, I mean, it's a little bit of a modern hymn or like an older praise song, like somewhere in that realm. Because He Lives is I think the Gaithers did it. The
I think
Because He Lives,
so.
I Can Face
Yeah.
Tomorrow. Yeah. That would be a great one. You could do something like really traditional, like the old rugged cross, or like um, Jesus paid it all to him I owe. Like one of the more traditional hymns. You could look at something like, you know, Amazing Grace would be just like a favorite. You could do something more contemporary, like What a Beautiful Name. That's a really pretty one. The What a Beautiful Name It Is.
Mhm.
Glorious Day could be a more contemporary one you could do, or like Forever or Lead Me to the Cross. some more contemporary ones. Did any of those kind of stand out to you, or do you have any that you've heard in mind that you feel like might be good? You could do like He Arose, He arose, hallelujah, Christ arose, right? Like,
Yeah. Maybe I'll just explore it this week
yeah, I love
and
that
listen to
idea.
some things.
Yeah. Yeah, I know growing up I really loved Easter songs. Like I feel like they're so joyful, they're like
Yeah.
during Advent you might have like some more ominous ones like leading up to
Uh-huh.
and then like Christmas Day is very celebratory, and then like Good Friday songs are sad, but then Easter songs are like
Okay.
victory in Jesus, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I always really
Right.
enjoyed Easter,
Yes.
the like celebration
Yeah.
ones.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so maybe take a look at that this week.
Uh-huh.
And I can take a look too at what I've got, but just kind of
Okay.
reflecting on what you think might be fun for you to learn. And maybe we could even pick a couple contrasting ones. Like we could do one that's more a traditional hymn and then one that's more contemporary, because I feel like
Sure.
a traditional hymn you probably would be like, oh, I feel more at home, like I'm back to my sweet spot. And then
Uh-huh.
if we keep working on contemporary techniques, then we can challenge you to keep up some of
Uh-huh.
the new skills that you had. So I would love for us to also take a look, because you did mention theory.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start. I'm just going to start you with some like basics, and
Basic, basic. Okay.
I'll share the screen with you so you can see as well. All right. Okay. Just want to make sure I like find some good visuals and whatnot too. And I think with Zoom I might have a whiteboard option as well, so I can like write. Okay, at least they told me I did, and then I never learned to use it. Alrighty, so here I'm going to share with ya. Can you still hear me but see what I'm
Yes.
sharing here? All right, so if you look at, we've got the musical staff. Now, you've got 5 lines, and you've got 4 spaces between. We
Okay.
have, you'll see sometimes just the one staff where you have the 5 lines, 4 spaces, and you'll just see like a single individual staff, and then you'll have some kind of a clef at the beginning. So that symbol that starts the line, that's going to tell you the clef, or that's how we know where the C is, basically. We always find where is the C. So you're going to be looking most often as a female vocalist, the treble clef. And so that is this beautiful swirly one that like swirls up and over and wraps around like a really fancy cursive G maybe. And they actually call it a G clef. Which as a little kid, I was like, is it because it looks kind of like a fancy G? But it's actually because the big fat swirl at the bottom, like, the biggest swirl that like is like a cinnamon roll, that is centered around the G line. So they would call it the G clef, because that line is the G line. So you can always kind of find your way back to G really easily with this clef. Now, we call it treble clef because treble refers to the higher voices. You also are going to have, if you have a grand staff, you're going to have 2 staffs that are connected. So we've got, if you look over to the left side, you've got the grand staff. So you have treble staff above a bass staff. So male voices are typically reading off of this bass clef staff. So this we call the F clef, because that big dot and then the 2 dots like a colon, that line between the 2 dots is the F line. So it helps us remember where we are for
Sure.
the G clef and the F clef. They kind of center around. But this upper one is your treble clef, treble voices, higher voices, and then bass clef lower voices will be here. So usually women are on treble clef, men on bass clef. There are other clefs, but these are pretty much the only ones that singers have to deal with, unless you get into very, very old, like, you know, Middle Ages music or something. So you're pretty much good with knowing these. And we call this a grand staff. Grand, like a grand banquet hall, when we have both staffs together.
Oh,
so
okay.
that little bracket that connects the two and they're stacked on top of each other, that tells us it's a grand staff. So you can have just the individual treble staff, you can have an individual bass staff, or you can have the grand staff, which is all of this together. So you're mainly concerned with the treble clef and the treble staff here. All right, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and we are going to come on. Oh, no! I lost it. All right, we're going to come on over to this picture. All right, so this is focusing just on that treble clef, that treble staff. This is what you're mainly going to want to know, which is the lines. We have the lines identified, and I know right now it's just like E, G, B, D, F, what? And then at the bottom you have the spaces, which spell face. So sometimes you'll have like music T-shirts that have jokes about face or whatnot. And it's just like cute little things. What I like to do is have a fun little phrase that helps me remember the order. We always go bottom to top when we're looking at the staff. And when you're like building a chord, you always go bottom to top, bottom up. So we're going to do the lines. I've heard multiple different things, but I usually say every good boy deserves fudge is what I usually say. A lot of people say every good boy does fine, and then there are other fun ones as well. Sometimes I'll challenge students to come up with their own that they like. So we've got, if you have a phrase that helps you remember, like every good boy deserves fudge, then you can always figure it out. And then the spaces for the treble clef, you're kind of lucky. They spell a word. For the bass clef, we have to have multiple phrases, but for here, it's just spelling face. So you take those spaces, hopping up. So if a note centers on a line, it's a line note. If it centers on a space, it's a space note. You also are going to want to know middle C as well. Alrighty, so it's unfortunately not on the staff. It's going to be floating underneath the staff. So when you see a treble clef and then you see a little dash underneath it with a note on top of it, that is your middle C. So that is what I would say is kind of the most important note to know. And then if you go line, space, line, space, line, you can just know the music scale or like the order of the musical alphabet and just follow that. So the musical alphabet is going to be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 7 notes or 7 letters, and then it repeats again and again. And we take those same notes and they can be higher or lower, they can go whichever direction. So from here, if we're on that little dash, we call that a ledger line, is what that's called. If you have a little dash below the staff or above the staff as well, that's a ledger line. And you can actually add a whole bunch of them, but for now, we're not going to. So that's our middle C. If I went up to the space right above it, it would be a D. And then if I go to the line above C, that's our E, right? Every good boy does fine, or every good boy deserves fudge. So that's our E. And then the next space will be F. The next line is going to be G. The next space will be A, then B, then C, then D, then E, then F is the top line. So you can just sort of like count up and down and figure it out. So if you forgot that that was C, but you know this is the G clef, you can say, okay, that line is G. So then the space below that is F, the line below that is E. And now I have the ledger line, so I have a space, that would be D, and then the line will be C. So it's kind of like math where you can sort of build on and figure out things if you're not sure. So that's what you're going to be looking at on the paper, right? Now let's talk a little bit about Also, the time signatures, because this is going to be something that you're looking at. So I want to show you a visual of these as well. So the most common time signature you will have is going to be 4/4 time. That's common time. So if you have, like, sometimes they won't even put the numbers. They'll just put a big C, like this picture over here. If you see this picture over to the right, you have 4/4, like a fraction almost. And then you have this big C underneath. That signals common time. 4/4 time is common time. So what that tells us is there are 4 beats per measure, and the quarter note gets 1 beat. Most often, you're going to have 4/4 time. And most often, you're going to have the quarter note getting the beat. You will sometimes see other numbers. This is a good example here. So we have, for instance, 2/4 time, 3/4 time, 4/4 time. If there's a 4 on the bottom, the quarter note gets the beat, and that's going to be what you most often see. If it has something else on the bottom, it means a different type of note gets the beat. So whatever number is on top tells us how many beats there are per measure. And you're probably like, wait a minute, what's a measure?
I know what a measure is.
Okay, you got it. Perfect. Great. So the measure separates it into chunks. And we just know that we visually will see that many beats over and over across the staff. So that vertical line separates it into certain patterns of beats, right? So if I have 2/4 time, there's a 2 on top, it means 2 beats per measure. 3/4 time, 3 on top, it means 3 beats per measure. 4 on top means 4 beats per measure. 3/4 time and 2/4 time you'll see pretty often. 3/4 time is that waltz tempo where you're going to feel 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. And then the time signature you hear most often is that 4/4. So either 1, 2, 3, 4 or 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so sometimes we accent on 1 and 3 or 2 and 4, but it's going to be the same. All right, so I want to go to, I want to show you, I like to make a rhythm tree is what I call it. Aha, other people know what that is too. Great. So I like to look at a rhythm tree to sort of give you an example of this. So I call it a rhythm tree because it's like you kind of build like a Christmas tree shape with the rhythms to understand how they all fit together. So we are thinking of that 4/4 time. So 4 beats per measure on top, and then the quarter note gets the beat on bottom. So at the top of this rhythm tree, we have a whole note. So there is one whole note. It is just a hollow oval with no stem. And that is going to be called a whole note because it's almost like a whole dollar or a whole measure. So we always think in terms of 4/4 time, common time for these rhythm trees. So whole note, whole measure, whole dollar. Think of it like that. Now, down from that, it branches and you have a hollow dot with a stem and another hollow dot with a stem. So if I see those, 2 of them is equivalent to a whole note. So it's almost like 2 50-cent pieces. These are called half notes, and 2 of them equal $1 or a measure. So it's like a whole dollar, 2 50-cent pieces, or a whole note, and then half of the dollar or half of the measure, half notes. Whole note, half notes. 4 beats, 2 beats plus 2 beats. So rhythm is very mathematical. Then you're going to see the next section down. We have 4 of these. These are our quarter notes. So quarter notes, I would say, are probably the most important notes because that 4/4 time, you've got 4 quarter notes per measure, and you'll see them a lot. So it's a solid dot with a stem, and you're going to have 4 of those for the measure. So think of it as 4 quarters. You've like got coins, 4 quarters, and it's a quarter of the measure or a quarter of the dollar, right? So you have 4 quarters equals $1, or you've got 4 quarter notes equals 1 full measure. is how you can think of that. Now here's where the money correlation stops working. But we just think each time we're splitting them in two. So we just divide it by two and it creates more. So then we have eighth notes. We call it an eighth note because 8 of them make a whole measure. So an eighth of the measure. And so these are twice as fast as the quarter note. And you can keep dividing. So then we have 16th notes. So there are 16 of them in the measure. So 4 of them equal 1 quarter note, or 8 of them equal a half note, right? Or half a measure. So you can kind of visually see that and break that down in your mind. So if my tempo is 1, 2, 3, 4, then I'm going to have whole note, holding out, half note, quarter note on every beat. Eighth notes take half the time, so we get 2 for a quarter note, right? Then your 16th notes are 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a, right? So they each time it gets twice as fast, but it all has to fit into the same amount of time as that measure, right? So 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, hold, 3, hold, 1, hold, hold, hold. Yeah? So when you get music, it's not going to be laid out so perfectly like this. It's going to be mixed up a little bit. So that's where it can get kind of funky. So we're going to do some rhythm sight reading for beginners. Let's do some examples here. Great. All right. So if we take a look here, we didn't talk about rests yet. That's okay. So let's take a look at something like this one because we don't want rests yet because we don't know about those yet. So we're going to take a look at this one. So I blew it up a little bit bigger. All right, so for this first line, I really love how they laid it out so you can see the counts. So this whole note is first. We're in 4/4 time. You've got a whole note, and they say, okay, this has 1, 2, 3, 4 beats. We've got a half note there, so it has 1, 2 beats. A quarter note has 1 beat, right? And you can see the vertical bar lines separating the measure. And then you've got 1 beat, 1 beat, 1 beat, 1 beat, and then you have a whole note for the 4 beats. So I like that you can visually see the counts underneath, and I often will have piano students write in their counts underneath to help them stay on track with that because they can get more and more complicated. At the end here, you've got a double bar line. That signals it's the end. So if you see a double bar line like that, it's telling you this is the end. Occasionally you'll see 2 dots by that and it's telling you it's the end, but play the whole thing one more time or sing the whole thing one more time.
Could you repeat that? The double bar line equals the end of the
piece.
Song? Okay.
Yes, correct. So this is not all one piece. This one line is the one exercise and it's done. So it says that's the end. You don't have to keep trucking through.
Okay.
So we're going to go through and we're going to just go through these rhythms and clap them together. So we're going to go whole note, holding out, half note, quarter, 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 whole note, holding out. All right, so can we try going through together? We're going to clap that first rhythm line there in 4/4 time. 1, 2, ready, go. Whole note, holding out, half note, quarter, 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 whole note, holding out. And then it's the double bar line, so that's the end. So then we have another, the second line here. Again, 4/4 time. So 4 beats per measure, quarter note gets the beat, top and bottom. You've got a bunch of quarter notes to start out. So you've got 2 full measures of just quarter notes. So 8 quarter notes clapping on each beat. You're going to have a half note, and then you're going to have a whole note holding out, and then that is the end. You'll see that double bar line there. So let's go ahead and try. We're going to go through and clap and count this second line. We're going to do the same kind of rhythm that we had before. So it's going to be about 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 1, 2, ready, go. Quarter, 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 half note, whole note, holding out. All right, so that's our second example there. If we scroll down a little bit more, this third one, let's take a look. Now this one doesn't have any whole notes. It is all half notes and quarter notes here. So we start with the half note. We've got 2 quarters, we've got 4 quarters, a half note, 2 quarters, and a half note. Anytime I'm sight reading something, I always look through it and just kind of see like what kind of rhythms are coming up, what kind of melody patterns are coming up. Is there a modulation? Like what to anticipate in the piece if it's brand new. So we're gonna try clapping and counting this one, starting with that half note. So we have 1, 2, ready, go. Half note, quarter, 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 quarter. Half note, quarter, 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 half note. It looked like from my side we had a little moment of buffering. So why don't we do it one more time, okay? Just because I want to make sure we get it. 1, 2, ready, go. Half note, quarter, 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 half note, quarter, 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 half note. Awesome. All right, so we have to get our rhythms before we can really do sight singing, a melody, because the melody also has rhythm. I had a theory teacher in undergrad who he said to me, Vandy, the rhythm is half of the music. Because I was like, well, I sight read all the notes right. And I was like, why did I get such a bad score on my sight reading? And he said, because rhythm is half of music. He said, your rhythm was not right. And then I went, oh, okay, got it. All right, so we are going to look at next. We've got rests in that one. But I want to give you some that have some eighth notes as well. So I don't want any rests yet because we didn't do rests today. So we're going to focus in on the pattern without the rest. So we've got some eighth notes now. So we have still 4/4 time. You can see we have a treble staff for these. They do have the counts written in. They wrote it a little bit differently, but the counts are there. We've got quarter, quarter, half note, eighth note, half note, quarter, eighth note, quarter, quarter, eighth note. So we have a bunch of eighth notes in here. Now the double bar line isn't until the second line, but I'm going to say we're just going to do that first line and not go to the second one yet. So we'll pretend there's a double bar line there. So we're going to take a look here. So it's going to be 1, 2, ready, and quarter, quarter, half note, eighth note, half note, quarter, eighth note, quarter, quarter, eighth note, quarter, quarter, eighth note, eighth note. All right, so it's a little, I feel like the trickiest is that second measure because 1, 2, 3, 4, you have eighth note, half note, quarter. That one feels very counterintuitive to me. So that one like catches me. I'm like, ooh. So let's go ahead and try that one more time to make sure we've really got it. 1 and 2, and here we go. Quarter, quarter, half note, eighth note, half note, quarter, eighth note, quarter, quarter, eighth note, quarter, quarter, eighth note, eighth note. Good, so we got one with some eighth notes. I want to do some starter sight singing today too. All right, so, oh yeah, the Do Re Mi Studios has some really good examples. I have a bunch of books too, so if we run out of examples online, I can always like scan some in and send them to you to practice with. All right, so One thing I really like about the Do Re Mi Studios resources they post is that they also have an audio that you can listen to check afterwards. So I really like that. If I remember correctly, there was one mistake on this page. We'll find it when we get there. So just like they wrote in the wrong solfege. We're going to ignore the Do Re Mi part for right now, because I find that it can be a little bit easier to think in terms of numbers first. So I want you to think in terms of numbers of the scale. So we have, if we're doing the key of C, if I said we're in C, then C is the first note of your scale. And so we're starting on the C, and we're gonna go C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then we start over at C, and it just keeps going. So C to C is that full scale, and you're just gonna go in that order. So if you think of C as the 1, the first note of that scale, and then the D is the 2, it's the second note of that scale, and then the E is the 3, the third note of that scale. So we're thinking in terms of what note in the scale and what number of scale degree that is. So let's just sing that C scale starting on 1. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you go back to the 1 at the top, and then we're going to sing back down. So try that with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So that's our scale on numbers going up, which I know takes a little bit to kind of get your brain to think that way. All right, let's do that scale going up one more time. Breathing in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. All right, then we're gonna go back down. So it's 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, okay? 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yep, so let's do that descending scale one more time, starting 1 to 7. 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Now, one thing I really like about this first exercise is that it's all stepwise motion. So I want you to watch here. You can see it goes line to space to 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 line to space. So it's always going to a note that's right next to it. It's not jumping ever. It's always just going either up or down from the note you were on. So that C is going to be our 1. So if I go up from C, it's going to be 2. If I go down from C, it's going to be 7. So I have to think in terms of, do I go up, do I go down, and what number is next to that? So this is going to be 1, then we go up to 2, then we go up again to 3. Then you can see we're going to go down to 2. You'll go up to 3, up to 4, up to 5, and then because it's a half note, we're going to hold a little bit longer there. All right, then we're going to move up again, so it's 6, up to 7, up again we'll go to 1, up to 2, back down to 1. That one is a whole note, so we're going to hold a lot longer on that. So it's 1. You're holding for the 4 counts there. Yeah. So let's, what I recommend is work on your rhythms and your melody sight reading separately, and then try to put them together, just because it's so early in the sight reading journey. So I'm going to look here and go, okay, I'm starting on C. So I'm going C. So it's 1 there. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 1. Yeah, exactly. So you're watching, am I up, am I down, in that pattern. And you can also, even if it's a sight singing exercise, practice the rhythm with the clapping and counting like we did. So you can go 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can go, okay, quarter, 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 half note, quarter, 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 whole note, holding out, right? So I can work on that rhythm separately. So even if I sight sing it and my rhythm isn't quite right, it's okay. I can then go separately work on that rhythm, and then I can try to fit them together. And sometimes I'll slow it way down. Like maybe I can clap and count it at this tempo, but then when I sing it, maybe I have to slow it down to like a 1, 2, 3, 2. And that's okay if you have to slow it way down. Perfectly okay to do that. All right, we're going to try to sight sing one more of these today. So we're going to go to this exercise 2. So this C again is our 1. Oops, I scrolled down a little too much. So C is 1, and then we're going to see we step up to 2, we step up to 3, step down to 2, down to 1, down to 7, up to 1. Then we go up to 2. 2 is going to repeat. It's the same note again. So that's like, woo, we didn't have any repeats in the last one. 2 repeats. Down to 1, down to 7, up to 1. So before you even sing it, go through and ask yourself, what's the order and the pattern on my numbers of the scale? All right, so then let's try, we're going to sing it, and we're not going to worry so much about the rhythm just yet. So starting on 1, we have 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 7, 1, 2, 2. Oh, wait, sorry. 2 went up, but then it's the same. 2 repeats, down to 1, down to 7, up to 1. All right, so we're watching where we're going in that pattern. So let's try it at a slow tempo. 1, 2, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 7, 1, 2, 2, 1, 7, 1. And then you can try it a little bit faster, right? 1, 2, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 7, 1, 2, 2, 1, 7, 1. And then you can take it even faster if you want. Good. So I'm going to put the link to this page, and you also can play the recordings of these as well. So I want you to have the link to this page because you can listen and check yourself on the page. So I'm going to stop the screen share. In the chat, I'm going to paste that link because I want you to practice those sight singing exercises this week.
Where's the chat? Oh, here we go.
Oh.
I've got to figure out how to do this. Okay. Let's see, can I save this? Save toolbar.
And okay. I'm going to send you a couple YouTube videos that I think are going to be really helpful as well to work through this.
Okay.
So this is a lovely Australian lady who's going to help you with your rhythm. And then this is going to be just like sight reading fundamentals beginning. Let me see.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to send you a couple. And if you just want to copy. All right. So I'm going to copy and paste a couple of these videos in for you to work with this week. I think there's another that could be really helpful on here. Let me see. They have one more, the same group, but it's a longer one. So that's like a starter one and this a little bit longer one. So that Do Re Mi Studios is going to be sight singing, particularly, and you can play to check yourself. This first video link is just focusing on rhythm. And then the second two there are focusing on sight singing generally and just like, beginning your sight singing. If you feel like it's like too tricky, that's okay. And you also can slow down the videos on YouTube. So if you go to the little gear shift, the settings, you can actually slow down the speed of the video. So you can take it slower if that helps you as you're practicing along with those. So if you just copy and paste those, I think that's going to be really helpful. So next week, I would love for us to keep on track with what we were doing. I'd love to introduce things like 6/8 time and things like sharps and flats and things like looking at things like rests, adding the moments of silence into our rhythms. So I think that would be great. So what I'm thinking is moving forward, maybe we take like the first half and do like some theory work, and then the second half we can actually work on your song that you want to prepare for Easter. And with that song, we can identify things like what's our time signature, what's our key, how do we know it's that key, and those kind of things. We can look through and then piece in the theory stuff we're working on into the song and let them kind of relate and tie together in a practical way. Yeah. Awesome work today, Linda.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Alrighty. I will see you next Saturday. Okay.
Okay, great.
All right. Bye-bye. Have a good week.